Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar hosted by Firm Forward on legal technology, legal tech for building and maintaining client relationships for IP firms. We have a great agenda prepared for you all today, and we've compiled a group of industry experts who have been kind enough to join the call today and to sit on this panel covering 3 different technology areas related to legal technology, and specifically this topic that we're honing in on today. I think one thing that we can all agree is beyond a shadow of a doubt here is that our industry has changed. How we work with our customers, how they request our services, how we deliver our services has been changing. And as the legal profession enters the 3rd decade of the 21st century, we're at a crossroads of sorts. We are empowered and fueled by technology to help enable change and to enable opportunities. And today, each of our panelists will discuss opportunities as they see them from their unique points of view and the legal technology with which they are experts and are working with. As part of today's webinar, we'll have a brief introduction of our panelists, and then we will jump straight into our Q&A session. We'll have a few live polling questions as we go as well, so you'll be prompted by those on your screen. And finally, as I mentioned, the core of today's call is really the Q&A, and we encourage you all to please ask questions. We're happy to field those using the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. I think we're all familiar enough with Zoom these days to be able to find that, but if you have any other question, you can feel free to message me directly. My name is Tiffany Valeriano. I'm today's Legal Technology Authority and Legal Tech Enthusiast. I view technology as an enabling tool to affect positive change and for the good of the legal profession. And I'm pleased to be joined today by our 3 panelists, and we'll start first with Fritsch from ClientsFirst Consulting.
Hi, thanks, Tiffany. I am Fritsch. I'm actually a CRM success consultant, and that is not an oxymoron. I work together with my team at ClientsFirst, which I founded about 14 years ago, to help firms select and implement CRM and related and integrated marketing and business development technology in such a way that they actually get value and return on investment. So, you know, a lot of people say that the CRM is very challenging, and Gartner and some other research organizations say that up to 70% of CRM implementations fail to meet expectations. What they don't tell you really is that that's usually because the expectations are wrong. And so our focus of all of our professionals is to help firms succeed with the technology. And we also do a lot of data cleanup work as well for firms.
You said a lot of words in there, Chris. Thank you. I heard data, I heard cleanup, I heard clients. Thank you very much. I look forward to digging into the details.
Absolutely.
Next up is Lauren Amanda Adler. You may have noticed in our initial invitation, we had planned for CEO and founder of Alt Legal, Nehal Madhani, to join us, but he was not able to attend, but he has provided the very best possible stand-in with LA, and I'll pass over to you.
Yeah, hi, good morning and afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I am taking over for Nehal. He is out on paternity leave, so good for him. But I'm here to really help, kind of introduce you to kind of the data side of IP. I know Cédric's going to do the same, but with everything, that we're doing now, I think in the practice of law, everyone recognizes, data is paramount. And I think, as a self-proclaimed tech nerd, as you can see here, I love efficiency, and people do not always associate that with the practice of law. And, with the prevalence and introduction of legal technology, particularly, with enablement for IP firms, we've, changed the landscape. And Nehal, unfortunately unable to join us, he used to be a practicing attorney. And I think a lot of the best tools are founded by people who used to practice. And I think the goal for Alt Legal in particular was to find something that was modern and automated, easy to use, and affordable at every level of practice, which I think is key. It's unique in that, our first hire was a designer. which I think is pretty unique for a tech firm. And we intentionally went kind of trademarks first as opposed to patents first. We know patents are like a very heavily serviced side of the market, and we found that trademarks were underserviced. So we started with trademarks, despite providing kind of a comprehensive system. We really wanted to service a part of the market, smaller firms, boutique firms, solos, and trademarks that we found kind of were underserved, and providing something that wasn't in the market, endless support, training, transparent pricing, et cetera, to try to eliminate some of kind of the general obstacles to, onboarding and starting with new technology. So, despite being kind of new to this company, I really can get behind it and tell you that it is a wonderful tool when it comes to automation and really keeping your data front and center.
Thank you, LA. And you've also raised another interesting point that I will highlight, which is 2 of our 3 panelists are lawyers. And I don't think it's a coincidence to see lawyers applying their knowledge and their experience to tools. And I think that's a real benefit when you have the chance to have a product come to market with someone who really understands where you're coming from and how to work with you. Oh, sorry.
Oh. No, I was going to say this is actually perfect. I know that one of the things people ask for in these presentations, they want something tangible and they want to hear from our clients. They don't want to hear from us, right? So rather than kind of talk about me, and from my perspective, I always like people to kind of see the benefit that they get from whether it's alt legal or another application of automation. It gives people peace of mind. When you're practicing, you have a lot of things on your plate. There are a lot of kind of balls in the air, and you don't want to drop any. You really want to provide the best client service. So whether, again, it's an alt legal docketing IP management tool, a CRM system, whatever it is, the more you can apply technology and the more you can automate the non-billable work, the work that keeps you up at night, the things that keep you afraid of, am I going to miss this? Am I going to forget this? Because that's my nightmare. Like, that's really what I think all of our tools are here, to help you. We want to give you that peace of mind and free you up to do more billable work or bring in more business. And that's really the goal. And I think, hearing it from our clients is the best way to do that. So that's really what, anyway, I'll stop talking now.
Next, to introduce to you is Cédric Multigner from Patent Pilot. Cédric, over to you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So I'm Cédric, and I'm the head of sales at Patent Pilot. I'm a French-speaking Belgian, hence the accent. And I'm the non-lawyer of the group, but I have a lot of experience in sales, more than 15 years across various industries. And actually it is, as we provide at Patent Pilot, a business development tool to improve and support your business development, the business development plan of IP firms by providing another aspect of the data. So Ellie mentioned docketing system. Docketing system is about actually the business you do, the data on your business. CRM is about the data of your interaction with your customers and your prospect. Well, we are about making the available patent data speak and give you actual valuable insight to improve your sales process at every stage of the relationship. So from the prospection to the conversion up to the retention. And by giving you insights on, like, for instance, the filing activities and the client partners list of your IP firm's partners. So basically, that's in a nutshell. Yeah, exactly. We make the data talk. We bring it to you in a nice and appealing visual way, so you can use it to support your effort in making and generating business for your IP firm.
Thank you, Cédric. And I think that your area in particular is one that will be something that is maybe known less about by the attendees today based on the initial feedback from the registrations. And with reason, I think the idea of using data for business development is something new to our industry, and there's no reason why you can't use and take advantage of the information and knowledge that either you have or that is readily out there to help provide what your clients need.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, the IP industry is very specific in this regard because it is one of the rare industry in the whole world where the data is available. So not using it not leveraging this data to support your business, well, is a big lost opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where technology can help. There's so much data out there. Applying the right tools can help you to just move from having data to being able to use it. And that's where the real value is. So we're going to launch our first poll just to make sure all of our attendees are still with us. So tell us the truth. Are you wearing pajamas right now? Thanks to those of you who are being honest. Next time we'll have to introduce a polling question to ask how many people have their house pets sitting on or near them. So thank you for all of that. It looks like most of us are not wearing pajamas and never would for such a call. But some of us are, at least some of us on the bottom, fair enough. And a few of us literally just got out of our pajamas in order to be on today's call. Sorry, I just realized I didn't share those with you. So here's the truth. The proof is in the pudding. So with that fun poll, we are going to continue on to our Q&A round. So remember, everyone, feel free, please, to submit your questions as you have them. You're welcome to, sorry, what's going on there? You're welcome to submit some questions for us to ask our panelists. And to help get us started, Chris, our CRM expert, can you please tell us a bit more about CRMs and how it can really be used by law firms?
Sure.
And maybe I should have mentioned this before you jump in. Those of you who registered for today's webinar also had a series of questions to answer. One of them was, do you use a CRM system? So Chris, is it actually surprising to hear that 60% of the people who registered do not?
You know, nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to CRM. I've probably heard it all. I think whether or not a firm has CRM has a lot to do with the size of a firm. So for, large general practice firms, you don't really start to feel the need for a CRM until you have 50 to 75 attorneys typically. So depending on the size of the firms participating today, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But since a lot of folks don't have CRM, it might be helpful to start with a little background on what is a CRM and what does it do. So, at a basic level, a CRM is a database. It's a way to manage your contacts, to have a central repository of contacts that can be kept updated firm-wide, clean, correct, and complete, ideally to keep the data clean. It has to be regularly attended to and deduplicated. Then at a next level, it's a marketing and communication tool. So most firms, probably 95% of firms initially get a CRM to do e-communication and invitations and event management. Doesn't sound particularly sophisticated, but it's crucially important as attorneys for us to be able to share our expertise and our credentials in order to develop business. So basics, but you've got to have the tool to do it. And that has led some people to call CRM a glorified Rolodex. I hear that a lot, but I sort of take issue with that, and we'll talk more about that. But at a bare minimum, a lot of people will say a CRM is a year or more of your life because in the past, it took a lot of time and effort to implement a CRM system. Now, there are a lot of tools that are cloud-based that are a lot quicker to implement, but I'll actually say CRM is a little more than a year of your life because CRM never really ends. It's not a project. It's not an initiative. It is a fundamental change and an improvement in how you manage your most important assets in your firm, your relationships. so it never really ends. But the good news is, I'm sort of an optimist, means you've got forever to get better at it. If you want to swap the slides. It's a really important tool for managing those relationships. If you want to go to the next slide. These are some of the important things that you can do with CRM. From the basics of event management and communication management and e-alerts and just keeping good contact information. Now firms are really focused more on doing some of the sophisticated things with CRM that other professional services firms like accounting firms and consulting firms have been doing for decades. Managing an actual business development pipeline, tracking pitches and RFPs, tracking all of the different things that we do around sponsorships and events to determine ROI, adding industry information and more information about clients and contacts so that we can target and segment and get the right information to the right people. And there's a bigger focus now more than ever on analytics. So allowing us to figure out how do we drive our firm's marketing and business development, and actually how do we drive the entire firm. So there's a bigger push now to integrate these systems and tie them to the rest of the firm. So things like time and billing integrations, e-marketing integrations, HR integrations, because in law firms, we've typically had a lot of very siloed data. The goal now is to bring all that data into one location to make it easier and the fewer points of entry, to automate the process so that the lawyers can be allowed to just be lawyers and not have to do data entry. Personally, my belief is if you've got someone who's billing $500 or plus an hour, maybe data entry is not the highest and best use of their time. So there are a lot of new things going on in CRM right now.
Thank you for that really helpful introduction. And I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that will be rolling in. Just to anticipate that a bit, we'll be digging more into the details of considerations if you're looking into possibly bringing on board a CRM, or also even some special considerations if you're working in a smaller IP practice or a smaller firm. So that's all coming up with Chris. And while we're on the topic of firm size, I'm going to launch our next poll, which is to tell us, what is the size of your firm? And why we're asking this, it impacts a few things. It can help us to understand maybe why you're not using a type of tool, but it can also help us to understand the different types of budgeting needs, and as well how you might be able to even kind of bring on board such a tool. So it's for our panelists a bit interesting and helpful for them to get a bit of a lay of the land of the size of your practice. So give it a few more seconds. Okay, so thank you for those of you who participated in this question. It looks like there are a handful who are just them, so smaller single one-man, one-woman shows, but over 60% are either with firms under 20 or between 20 and 50. So we are speaking and speaking with people today who mostly come from smaller IP practices. Thank you for participating in that poll. We're going to continue along. Chris, and this was another slide from you, if you want to address this before we move on to LA.
Sure. So CRM has always been very important to market and to develop business. But I think right now, during the pandemic, we've had a really interesting sort of confluence of events where attorneys who thought that FaceTime was essential and you had to be in the office are now 100% working from home, and it's not going so badly. People who thought, I would never use this technology. I mean, how many attorneys do we know before this that would have done a Zoom or even knew what a Zoom was? And they're on, five or more Zooms a day. So we've got people leveraging technology and working from home like never before. And we're also trying to reach out to all of our clients, and we know a lot of people know the same people. So we're trying to coordinate those efforts and figure out who's reaching out to who and who has the right relationship to be reaching out. So 20 people don't reach out to the same person. And then we need to coordinate our activities, and we need to track our pitches and see what we're doing in terms of business development. That all means we have a unique opportunity right now to leverage technology to really help with business development like we never have before. And if firms are able to do that now, it's going to help them during this time, and it's really going to help give them a competitive advantage when we get back to the new normal that we're also eagerly awaiting.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yep.
Definitely have that last point right. Can move on now to LA. What we also found from today's participants is that most of our firms already, or of our attendees today, are already working with an IP management system. But as we know, traditionally, IP management systems or solutions have been complex, sometimes problematic, or maybe you even need to have a required person in-house who's the system expert. But LA, can you tell us please about your solution and how Alt Legal has taken a more modern approach to this legacy problem?
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's not surprising that the majority of people who, kind of run IP practices do have some system in place, and it runs the gamut. You have everything from a fully integrated, complicated installed system that again requires specialists to run, and you have everything as simple as kind of a manually run spreadsheet and calendar, right? Every firm kind of is different in terms of what system they use. For those who have kind of previously installed systems, we found, a few issues that seem to pop up. And I don't want to kind of read through this. You guys can all kind of read the slide, but it's not just IPMS or, legal tech related tools. Older systems, regardless of where they came from, kind of have the same kind of issues. They are expensive. They tend to be very difficult to use, and they don't have as much automation. In fact, some of the legacy systems that we work to replace and help modernize some of these firms, they started offering their services like 50 years ago when computing was so early on, and they haven't really done much to upgrade their UI, their user experience. There isn't API automation or integrations with other vendors, other services. So in my mind, it feels very outdated and broken, kind of their business model. Everything's an add-on. They're kind of incentivized to keep their system very clunky because people will pay for training and things like that. It's just something that really, personally, as someone who practiced and utilized these tools, found it extremely frustrating. There's enough going on in my practice. I don't want my extremely expensive or even affordable software to kind of become shelfware. I don't want it just sitting there. I want it to be easy to use and something that works in my workflow, in my day-to-day. So that's really kind of where Alt Legal came from. We wanted to help people, whether it's adopting a spreadsheet or adjusting from an existing system, to be able to do that much more easily. So kind of the next slide, whether if you're thinking of moving and changing your current system, and whether that's again something that you're doing manually on a spreadsheet. I work with plenty of firms who keep an Excel spreadsheet of all of their data and manually add things into Outlook. I don't know how they do that. That seems very labor intensive and non-billable again. And we work with firms who have, again, fully integrated systems. So there are a few things to consider when you're moving. Obviously, the timing is important. If you have a system that's already in place, you want to make sure that you keep that system up and running even while you install a new system. And my guess is the same thing would be true for a CRM as well. You want to make sure that the data transfers properly, that things are working properly, that the data migration, all your users know what they're doing before they lose access to the system that they have familiarity with. Something that people don't think about is data extraction. Obviously, if you're using your own spreadsheet, you own that data. Certain IP management systems claim to own your data. They say the way they present your data is proprietary and therefore owned by them. So check your license agreements, make sure to, because they may charge you to export your data. It's something you should consider and think about, particularly when you think about buying, also when you think about moving, because you want to make sure that all of the information that you've put in there is something that you own, something that is extractable and movable by you. And when you're looking at moving into a new system, think about the way that technology partner or vendor needs that data to be presented to easily input it into their system. Can they migrate things easily? Can they use the data from your existing system? Do they need to build it from scratch? How much of it is on your people to build it, and how much of it is on them? Data cleaning, this is more of an opportunity than anything else. I would always recommend, if you're switching any kind of data service, I'm sure CRM as well, it's a great opportunity to clean out the data that's in there. And we all know, like, data is going to get dirty. It just does. That's one of the best things about having something that's truly automated, is you can take your data as gospel. It comes directly from, for example, on Alt Legal, it comes directly from the, Patent and Trademark Office itself. The data comes directly, so you don't even have to worry about kind of cleaning that data. But your new vendor should work with you to make sure to identify inconsistencies, find any potential dirty data, and clean it while you're making the move. It's an undertaking to do it anyway. Might as well do it right. And then obviously communication. I'm not saying anything new here, but make sure in your process, whether it's an IP management system or any technology tool, it's so important to involve all of the relevant stakeholders in the decision. And I think, I'm not telling anyone anything new. Sometimes the hardest way to get a decision is to send it to your committee, like a tech committee or anything like that. But it is important that the people who need to have a say, are involved in the process. So making sure they have some input, before the final decision is made.
Yeah, thank you. If I can jump in, I think these consideration points, and we haven't gotten to Cédric yet, but if we can go back to Chris, I can imagine that these points are also some things that you would also relate to CRM selection.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, data quality, 30+% of your data degrades each year. And people get promotions and raises, they get fired, they change jobs, they retire, some die, companies get acquired and merged and closed and opened. And so that's part of the biggest part of our business is our data quality business. I have up to like 70+ data stewards who outsource this so that firms don't have to deal with it. And you really do, with a CRM especially, have to keep up with the data, because we all now are moving and changing roles so frequently. And the other part of it is, it's all about how successful you are, is all about your strategy. And so communication is absolutely key. Helping firms put together communication plans for their internal audiences and attorneys and assistants is just as important as communicating effectively with your external audiences using CRM. People have got to perceive that they get value out of the system, or they're not going to use it. And as attorneys also, if the data is bad for me, therefore the system is bad, and why would I use it? And so having that data is a really important part of it. And we also will add in the training, because CRM is typically deployed to the end user attorneys and assistants. And so because CRM really never ends, initial and ongoing training is absolutely essential. So yeah, all of the people and process with the technology is as important or more important than the technology itself, dealing with the change management and things along those lines.
Yeah, thank you for that. Data is such a hot topic, and we'll definitely be spending a bit of time there. Can I pop back to LA? Thanks for letting me jump in there. You can.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, Chris kicked it back right to exactly where I left off, which was perfect, which is, the key to any software implementation, CRM, an analytics tool, IP management, docketing, whatever it is, you're not just buying the software, you're buying the people who back up that software, the support team. Are you paying extra for training? What are they doing to help you onboard, to help you make sure that you're making the most of your subscription? And I think that's one of the things. I mean, I love bragging about my company because we do stuff like this so well. I think, again, don't take my word for it, take our client's word for it. Our goal is to automate as much of your IP management as we possibly can, because a lot of that isn't billable. And so much of that is making sure that the system is working for you. So eliminating the cost, both in terms of, price and in terms of time of getting your system set up, getting your docket built, and making sure that from day one you're up and running, having built-in live chat support for people who are based, here in the US and speak English. We're not bots, those kind of things that I think, again, come from having a founder who used to practice, someone who really understands what it is to be a practicing lawyer and the pressure for it to reduce the non-billable work and kind of the headache of onboarding new software.
Yeah, and that's a really good point as well, to have that thought to what the next step will be. I've been on the receiving end and have also seen a lot of cases where software has been bought because someone wanted to get it and they got it, they had the budget, or they just managed to make it happen. But an important thing to do, whether you're considering an investment in really in any legal technology tool, is to consider, okay, I'm going to buy this thing, then what? What is your next step? What is your onboarding plan? Because this is where it can go wrong. Either you might not have the right support in place to help you, or you might not have the right plan internally to help bring everyone else around you on board. And I think, Chris, there are some statistics I'd read a while ago with CRM systems where the implementations of new CRM systems, and I think it would apply to legal technology as well, as without this kind of onboarding plan, you're doomed to fail.
Absolutely.
Always think about that.
Yeah, Gartner said 70+% of the implementations fail. That's why one of the things that we really focus on is helping firms not just select the technology, but put a strategy in place,
Right,
and execute it so that they do succeed, and they do focus on things like training and communication and data and integrations.
Yeah, I can imagine that to be true. And with what you and LA have spoken on so far, these are pretty specific applications, or rather more general applications. But what Cédric will speak about now is something that's a bit more specific, but I can imagine he has the same experience, even working with patent data analytics. So tell us about this, Cédric. Help us to solve this mystery. It looks like there's really power behind what using the right data and presenting it in the right way can do, and also how it can really take client relationships to the next level. Can you tell us a bit about that? Cédric, you might be on mute.
Obviously.
Welcome back.
So first of all, one point to what LA was, at some point LA mentioned the user experience in all tech. I think this is one of the crucial points, is the ease of use and how intuitive your software should be. And then to Chris' points about CRM, having done several CRM integration myself, I noticed that two key elements were the approval and the support of top management. That without this, it's aim at failure. And the second point is to be able to define precisely the scope of what you want to achieve. Some CRMs can do so much, and then you get lost. And it's very important to narrow down what your objectives are in the beginning. So, but yes, to IP and data. So first of all, sales, which I know until recently, and maybe still now, is kind of a bad word in the IP or lawyers world. But nonetheless, that's what we all do. We sell our services. In different industries, we have seen that a data-driven approach help you be more efficient in reaching your sales target. And this is why data and IP are very, very go very hand in hand. I would say a data-driven approach. Well, first, no need to guess anymore. No need to rely on luck to meet the right person at the bar, at an event, in an IP conference across the world. Now, and especially now, actually, with this COVID situation, travel restrictions, and no more conferences happening. Well, actually, how do you meet people? How do you meet the relevant people? How do you know who is relevant for your business? Maybe more importantly, how do you know who you are relevant for, to whom your offer is speaking? And that's where the data comes into play. And as I mentioned previously, the IP industry is very specific in this way that data is public. So not leveraging this data is very much a lost opportunity. And the data we have and we provide can help you at the various stage of the life cycle of your relationship, from the prospections, and if you can go to the next slide. So what is prospection? Prospection is basically targeting the right segment. So you need to find a way to segment your market. With Patent Pilots, or there's other tools, but here in this case, we can use a set of criteria to fall down on the right profile of the firm you are looking to reach out, to propose your offer. So the first step is first define your offer, define what kind of people, what kind of firm this would speak to, and then you can use a tool like Patent Pilot to have a list of all the firms that would match those criteria. So the criteria, we are relevant for them, you are relevant for them, they are relevant for you, and so you have all the weapons in your hands, all the ammunition to convince them. And this goes to then the following step, which is the conversion from a prospect to a client. If you can move to the next slide. Well, basically the conversion is how to be relevant, to have the right talking points. And for that, well, either you spend a lot of time with someone, you have like extended meeting, you go in depth in their how they work, what's their relationship, what's their agent network, what is their customer base look like, what's their area of expertise. Well, we deliver that beforehand so you can be more efficient and directly find what are the angles you can use to trigger some interest on your interlocutor side. And then, well, that's when you convert, but then you have a third step is when the relation exists, well, you have to maintain it. Sometimes you lose clients, you don't have a clue why. Sometimes they are splitting. Often they are splitting their work, their filing work between multiple law firms, and you don't even know about it. So this is the last step of the process. So for my next slide is about retention, and retention is customer intimacy. How well do you know your customer? Of course, thanks to your CRM and thanks to your docketing system, you will know, well, your interactions with them, contact details and so on, the work you provide for them, but all the rest, well, you are mostly blind to it. A platform like Patent Pilot will allow you to, well, have a full 360 view on their patent work. I mean, who are their clients? Who are they working with? Are there other opportunities for you? You can also analyze who they are working with instead of you. So analyze your competition at the same time and try to find new angles to reinforce your relationship with them and avoid churn, which is, well, losing customers, basically.
Yeah, Cédric, if I can jump in. So you've shown us a lot of really interesting graphs and types of data that you're able to pull up on various patent applicants, filers, and owners. Your customers, when they are using your tool, what are the kind of things that they're looking at, or what are they doing to use this to generate new business, for example? How are they using this as a business development tool?
Well, so there's many benefits to use our tool. Myself, as one of the earliest user of Patent Pilot in my former position, well, I have first-hand experience, and well, one of the very successful way to use the tool is for meeting preparation, for instance. When you demonstrate to prospect or client how well you know their business, and how well you've prepared for meeting your level, you raise your level of credibility and of professionality
You're not asking them.
very much.
You're not asking them. So how many patents have you filed in the last 12 months? You already know that information. You're able to use your what you know of the data to ask more pointed questions, I guess, or to avoid wasting time on questions that you don't need to ask.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And you can say, okay, I know you are working for with this firm in whatever jurisdiction. Well, actually, we are working also with this firm, so we have common clients. So those are all points that that can be leveraged to reinforce the relationship. Another one benefit that comes to mind that often is the identification through the platform of foreign law firm as potentially interesting partner. And as I mentioned, after engaging with them in a meaningful way, thanks to the insight of Patent Pilot. And in this way, you can establish a relationship. And we all know the IP industry is very much still on the bi-directional work exchange or reciprocity. And a lot of our customers actually use us and have succeeded into creating new reciprocal relationships. So generating business for them on one side, and on the other side, they have found a valuable and reliable partner in a foreign jurisdiction. So very win-win for the both law firm and win for their own clients.
Thank you for that. And those examples are really helpful. I think the idea of using data as a tool for business development and having those concrete examples is really helpful.
I have to say, one of the biggest challenge is the mindset of the IP industry. And as I said, like going into a sales mode and a more systematic commercial approach. This is something the industry is not used to. It's moving, it's changing. More and more firms have actually specialized business development people, but the whole industry is still a bit lagging. But yeah, it will have to change. It is changing, and it's going to continue to change in that direction.
Yes, I agree 100%. That's the only way it really can go. And this is part of this, I think, transition of law firms becoming more client-centric in a way, in terms of how you interact, but also how you find new clients. It's not a trend. I think it's here to stay.
Absolutely. So yeah, in terms of, already mentioned those points, but yeah, basically what patent data analytics, you take the guessing work out of the equation. So allows you to be more efficient, go faster. Also building your business development plan based on actual factual data. I know that facts, we have facts and alternative facts nowadays, but here we are speaking about hard facts. Make your business development plan more realistic. And then, I mentioned the different points based on the life stage of your relationship. And yes, knowledge, and this is it's a given. Knowledge of your partners, of your clients, will increase your chance of success. There's no secret around that.
Thank you very much for that. Very specific examples in the introduction from Cédric. I'm going to come back to our first slide now, as we are very quickly losing our time today. I do want to ask a question that's come up now from a few of you. I'm going to direct to Chris, because a few of you have asked more or less the same question, which is, can you recommend the best CRM system to use? But I think the real question, Chris, and this is, I guess, what you would get to, is how do you advise clients then, or how, if you're a small to medium-sized practice, where do you start if you want to bring on board a CRM system, and how do you choose one?
Sure, absolutely. So we do what's called a CRM success assessment. So when people frequently ask me, hey, which is the best CRM? I don't really know you yet. I'd have to get to know you. And one of the things that we really focus on is getting to understand and have a deep knowledge of the firm. So the software vendors are great at building and installing software and selling software, not as great at really getting to understand the firm. So the beauty of CRM is can do 1,000 things. The problem with CRM is can do 1,000 things, and it should probably do 3. and they're different for every firm, sometimes for individual attorneys within the firm, and definitely for groups. So it's really critical to get to understand the firm and do an assessment and a needs analysis, talk to all the key groups of stakeholders, as was mentioned earlier, because you've also got to get their buy-in. So doing this assessment also helps with the buy-in. But then we can define, what are your needs? What are your requirements? What are your short-term, intermediate, long-term, and aspirational goals? And can we map that up against the software to see what is the right system? And there are systems that are very legal centric and specific. And then there are sort of broader systems that, are big and can do 1,000 things and really need a lot of configuration. And it depends on what you're focused on. In most cases, for law firms, we're sort of an unusual segment. And a lot of software has been developed just for our market. So it'll let the lawyers be lawyers, spend as little time dealing with the system as possible, embed it into sort of contact management and email and calendar, your Outlook or Gmail or whatever it might be, to minimize the amount of work that's required and allow you to spend more time on real work. So sort of a longer answer, but it really does take getting to know the firm to figure out what is the right technology. And if you're going to go with one of the broader software packages, then a lot of time has to be spent to really configure it to your needs. And so that's sort of where we focus, helping you find the right technology and configuring it to your needs.
Thank you for that, Chris. And your answer is exactly as I anticipated. And for the people who asked it, I think the short answer, the nutshell version to the question is, it depends. Maybe not the most helpful answer, but Chris raised a lot of good points, and that ultimately depends on your goals and your setup and what it is you're trying to do. And I imagine for something like an IP management system, LA, I imagine you experience the same, but maybe your solution isn't the best for everyone. Maybe it's someone else's, and it's really about understanding the customer's needs and making a recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, particularly when it comes to IP, one of the things, the biggest variable that I find when it comes to kind of meeting the needs of the client is, the makeup of their portfolio. If you have more patents than trademarks, certain tools are going to work better for you. If you have more trademarks and patents, the same thing, but vice versa, right? Different tools are developed, to help with different issues. And I think even comprehensive tools have strengths and weaknesses. And, the hope is most of the time people will be completely open and honest and tell you, that their tool fits and doesn't. That's why I think, people like Chris and other consultants can be extremely helpful, because they do provide, kind of an independent view. Obviously, again, I'm so biased. I love my tool. I think my tool is great for most people, and I try my best to tell people when it's not a good fit for them. For example, the people who are going to be the really great fits for Cédric are not going to be the great fits for me. We service kind of different sides of the same market. And I think, in addition to the right fit, you also, one of the major considerations I think for most people is price. And the salesperson in me always comes out and tells people, yes, obviously price is a concern for anything, CRM, analytics, whatever tool you're implementing, it doesn't matter, but really think about value more than price. That's the thing that I think a lot of purchasers don't consider. It's not just about how much is this going to cost on an annual basis or monthly basis. It's how much value is it going to provide me? How much return on investment am I going to get? And if you start to think about things in those terms, you're really going to start implementing and purchasing software that's a much better fit for your practice, whether you're a solo or you are part of, a huge organization. The tools will fit you if you buy the things that provide you the value and the points that you need. So,
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think we could have an entire other webinar series and exactly those points, how to suss out where is the value for you, but then the next step is then, okay, how do I sell that on so I can get the budget for it? And
yeah.
Cédric, coming along to you, I think you're pretty unique in this panel, in that what it is that you provide is pretty one of a kind. As you say, the data is out there, but what Patent Pilot is doing and kind of organizing it into an intelligible, presentable way that people can really consume it and do something with it makes it quite unique. as you're speaking with new customers as well, are these considerations that come up in your discussions as well?
You mean the price and, well,
the pricing I think we'll come to in just a moment. I mean in terms of helping to show the value and helping to see that what you can provide actually fits with their need.
Yes, so, well, basically the tool is the same for everyone. But there are different ways to use it. So, there we go, the same for Chris and LA is understand what do you want to achieve? What is your goal? What are your needs? What are your pain points? What problems do you want to solve? And once we narrow that down, then okay, so sometimes it will be that okay, the tool actually doesn't bring those answers, and we have to be honest about this and say, okay, this tool is not made for you. But in a lot of instances, if we are talking about business development in the IP industry, well, more than often the patent pilot can bring and help be more efficient, be more to the point. And I completely agree with LA here. It is not about cost, it's about value.
Thank you for that. And speaking of value, I think that leads nicely into the next topic. Also being mindful of time here with 7 minutes to go, and I do thank everyone for their questions. Let's put out there the $1 million question, and let's talk about money prices. Before we do that, I'm going to quickly launch a poll, which I think we're all very curious to see your answers today, which is the COVID effect in real life. Is the pandemic or this recession affecting your firm's investments in digitalization, technology, digital transformation? I say, well, while everyone is answering, something that I found to be useful is as you're speaking with vendors about technology, you can also challenge them to help you, whether it's about helping to sell this along internally or to help to find budget. Usually they will have also had experience with people who are like you and might be able to guide you in the right direction or make some suggestions in terms of helping you to sell this along internally and helping you to show where the value really is to people who are not normally looking at software in that light. And the poll, so it looks like it's a bit of a mixed bag. So somewhat, so around 60% are spending more on legal technology that makes sense, so maybe not a huge change. Some of you have also said that you've had the really good hindsight, or rather insights, to divert some of your travel budget that you're not spending into investments in technology, which I think is fantastic. And if you haven't thought of that yet, you've heard it here. Use your marketing budget a little bit differently, perhaps, since none of us have been able to travel. Okay, so speaking of money, guys, and I'd like to address this question to the three of you. What kind of pricing models should people expect? Is this a subscription, one size fits all? Is there pricing flexibility? Are tools like what we're talking about today, are they accessible for small firms? And then I'll say, who would like to start?
I'll go. Yeah, so as I said, we have the same tool for everyone. But not the same pricing model. And actually we are going our pricing model, and generally those software tends to follow the same model, is about the size of the IP practice, the numbers of IP professionals that can benefit from this tool. So it can be it's always affordable, well, depending on your size. But I really like to insist on the fact that it's actually you win one client thanks to a business development tool, one or two, well, the tool is already paid for itself, and you have long-term new relationship with it. So it's about value, not about cost. But if we are focusing on cost, well, the price is based for us on the size of the firm.
Okay, so that comes to one of our earlier questions. You consider how many people might actually use the tool.
Our pricing is a little bit different. Again, we want to give the same consideration that Cédric does. We want to make sure that our tool is affordable to everyone. regardless of the size of your practice. So the way we price, we don't do it based on number of users or kind of the number of people in your firm. We do it based on the size of your portfolio. So just the number of matters that you store in the system. That way it's a very, very flexible tool. Again, I've kind of talked briefly about how we tend to be trademarks first. You can docket patents and other things in our system. There's slightly less automation. So a lot of firms actually choose to split their trademark and patent docketing. That's why we price it this way, because you're not paying for things you're not using. And I think that's one of the things that people should really be looking for is, you know, the ability to kind of control the level of what you're paying for based on what you're using. Cédric, I think, you know, your pricing system works the same way, you know, in terms of beneficial group. You know, we're doing it based on the size of the docket, so that if you're, you know, working with a few dozen marks in the system and a few dozen matters, you're not paying, you know, what Kirkland is paying, right? You know, thousands and thousands. You don't want to be paying some, you know, big one-time upfront cost of a build fee for, you know, getting started. It's $5,000. That is an enormous hurdle for certain people and is a deal breaker. So I think looking for any upfront costs and build costs is really important. Looking for any hidden fees, you know, what are these other kind of one-time costs that I might run into, training fees, et cetera. Look for transparency in pricing and something that you can really understand. And I think, you know, Alt Legal tries to be a tool that grows with your portfolio. I think most tools will aim to do that so they make sense. And I think pricing on the other side, you know, make sure you understand what you're committing to. I know that we're talking to a lot of lawyers, but some people sign these things without reading them. Understand auto renewals, understand year-over-year increases, your ability to cancel, do you own your data? Those kind of things are all important considerations, in addition to just kind of that sticker price. So learn all of the kind of nuances that are in there too.
That's a really valuable piece of advice. Don't only take the sticker value as it is, but consider what might be behind that or what other additional things might come along the way. And I'm sure that's also something Chris can attest to from the CRM perspective as well.
Sure. Yeah, so CRM, it's an interesting model in legal. CRM 20 years ago, some of those systems are still on the market, and they were obviously an installed inside the firm firewall model that you paid, you know, X dollars per license and then 20%-ish annual maintenance. And there is still some of that out there. But a lot of the new systems have developed and they're cloud-based, so you don't have to have servers. A solo can get in and get a great CRM system. It just depends on whether you want to have it be legal industry specific or not, but you could be looking at, you know, $25 per user per month for a small practice. You can also go all the way up to very large practices where you integrate multiple systems, and you can easily spend, you know, for large firms like a Kirkland, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But there are really good ways to get in now. And a lot of firms are focused on working first with an ERM or enterprise relationship management system at a much lower price that will capture the relationships, the who knows who, and the strength of those relationships from email traffic that will allow you to create and capture contacts from the signature blocks of emails, and start off at a very reasonable per user per month, and then just start with a few CRM licenses for the people that want it, and then build over time. And so it's a lot about strategy. It's as important. The strategy is as important as the budget, and then it's all about value, as everyone said. Being able to provide value to individual stakeholders is a big part of this, because the cost is going to be justified if you're getting the benefit.
Got it. Thank you very much for that. A quick question for Cédric, and then I can wrap things up for us. Cédric, are you able to provide more specific examples of how to use Patent Pilot for business development? I know you've already messaged this person offline, but is that something you're able to provide should anyone have further questions about really what you do or what they can do with what you do?
Ideally, I would have to show the platform and explain and show how we can search for specific profile, get in-depth and insightful information out of the platform. But again, as we explained earlier, it is very dependent on your specific needs, depending if you are willing to develop your local customer base and you are looking for applicant in a technical field that it match your expertise in your area. You have filings you sent abroad in China, Japan, Australia, and you are looking for new relationships. Well, how can you find those interesting relationships that will reciprocate by sending work to you? Those are some kind of a very specific example. But again, well, it was a Brian question. Well, the idea is to look at your specific practice, look where you have white spots, how we can identify those white spots, and how we can fill those in and increase your business. So it's very specific and custom made, I would say tailor-made to each and everyone's practice. So I'll be happy to demonstrate to anyone who's interested, obviously, the tool, and have a very specific demonstration based on their actual needs.
Yeah, Tiffany, I think we'll all take offline comments. If anybody wants to reach out, we're all happy to share more information on ideas.
Yes, absolutely. And along those lines, everyone, will ensure that you're able to receive a copy of the slide deck from today's presentation, which I'm scrolling now toward the end, so that you can see we've included at the back of the slide deck contact details and a QR code for each of our panelists today. So if you want to proactively reach out to Chris, to LA, or to Cédric, you have their contact details here. And also to Firm Forward, our host and organizer for today's webinar. And to wrap things up, a quick question, and to say no more than one sentence from each of you. What do you see in the future for your product, or for your industry, or your part of the industry?
Wow, way to spring that on us. I think, you know, I see the movement, particularly now that people are under new pressure to find cost savings and to streamline their practice. I think there's a movement even more so towards implementation of legal tech. And I think lawyers are becoming, you know, much more adept at not just evaluating technology, but implementing it. So if people need help with either side of that, I know all of the panelists here will be able to do that. So I think, you know, Alt Legal will try to continue to be a leader when it comes to client service and easy implementation.
Thank you. And Chris, how about the future of CRM?
Yeah, I mean, CRM has been around for decades and it continues to evolve. And I think just like a lot of other business development related technology, it is going to continue to be more and more important as we do more remote work, as we become more sophisticated at business development. We're going to be leveraging even more of the features of the products going forward.
Thank you. And over to Cédric, the future of patent analytics, or should I ask, how about trademark analytics?
Well, this is one way it could go. More generally, in the field of the business development tools. For the moment, we are providing data and let our customers pull the insights out of the data. Ideally, within the next step, within the next version, well, the tool will provide recommendation itself and giving the insights. We realize our customers are not data scientists. It's not their job to analyze the data. So if we can help interpret the data, it is definitely a way we want to go. But more generally in the legal tech industry and software industry, I think integration. Everyone is now developing their own solution. Well, at some point, it will have to consolidate and integrate in a nice environment and in a smooth way to make the life of our users easier.
I certainly hope you're right about that. Integration of some of the existing lines of products and legal technology that are existing could be incredibly powerful to bring all of that data together. Thank you to our three panelists today, to Chris, to LA, and to Cédric for your time and for sharing your insights and expertise with us. And also on behalf of myself and from Firm Forward, thank you all for joining us today. It's been our pleasure to have you and your interaction and questions. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.